What's up, Samurai? We are back with more Trove. And today, the Punches and Potions update is now live on Trove, at least for PC anyways. No idea when it's coming to you guys on console, so don't even bother asking, okay? We never know. But this is more than likely going to be the last big update of the year. Just because more than likely we are going to end up having the Snowfest event come around, but other than that, we're probably seeing the next update come sometime around March. If not, this update be delayed to console release sometime next year as well, which would kind of suck. Now, the update overall, you know, I do kind of have my feedback towards it and whether the update is worthwhile, and I'll kind of let you guys know about that later in the video. For today, though, I wanted to kind of address a couple things. So yesterday is when the update went out, but I was busy with real life stuff yesterday and I had no idea the update was even here because there was some server downtime yesterday. But after the downtime, the update wasn't immediately applied. And then I got busy with stuff and I wasn't on my computer pretty much the entire day. And then I ended up going to bed. And then suddenly I noticed, oh, you know, everyone's yelling at me in Discord that the update was live. So I was like, oh, crap. And today I ended up finally playing with it. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is because you guys know me. Normally, I would have streamed this update yesterday and then I would have had the patch notes ready to go today. But I need an extra day. So this is going to end up being kind of the summary of what the update actually has. And then tomorrow is going to end up being more than likely the patch notes. And then we'll have other videos that'll deep dive into the specific segments of the update. We did already discuss all of this stuff while it was on the test server, so you can check those videos out. Not much has changed too much from the test server to the live server, but a significant amount has changed that I'm just going to basically redo those videos. Just so you guys know. Another thing too that hopefully it doesn't affect this video too much, but I noticed frame rate is a little bit sticky in the last few videos that I put up today, and that's probably because I turned off multi-threading, because one of you guys had mentioned that while I was doing my stream today, because the game was just crashing, that turning multi-threading off kind of fixed that. But I did notice that the stability, or rather the smoothness of the game, was kind of destroyed by turning multi-threading off, not to mention it messed with the boss radar and stuff like that. So anyways, let's hop into the hub and I'll kind of give you guys a quick summary of what the update is. Is it going to end up being a big update that affects the entirety of the game and changes the way that you play Trove? No. Not really. It basically is just going to end up adding 2 different professions to the game. So in short, there's a bunch more mastery to be had with this update. And then otherwise, in true Trove fashion, it is going to be very parasitic, which by that I mean it's going to end up being content that is completely segmented off on its own area of the game that doesn't really affect the overall scope of the game. I personally actually really enjoy the update. It's the execution of the update that I hate, because it blatantly says, like, there's one thing that this update communicates to me and many other players, and that is from the developer's mouth, it communicates, we don't play this game, we are out of touch. Because the mechanics are actually really interesting with the update, but how does it overall affect the game? It doesn't, because it's just a bunch of useless, frivolous upgrades and effects that you can apply to your character temporarily that ultimately are going to end up being worse than the basic food items. Anyways, my frames are dying, so let me just restart the game really quick. On top of that, there is a bunch of different store packs that were added. I'll have the store pack video come out tomorrow. But there was a bunch of other packs that they added that are like, oh, buy all 3 of these to get fragments of a boat. And it's so like overly expensive. I'm not going to get those packs and do a review of that. Much better. My frames are better even if the game's gonna crash. So anyways, to summarize, this is gonna be the martial arts. And this is a section of the game that as you end up leveling up the profession, you'll end up getting access to these different daily quests. That all cost 10,000 flux each, which means that this is a profession that most new players and even mid-game players are probably just gonna skip over, because why would you ever want to spend that much flux on just some garbage daily quests? Yeah, so ultimately the reason you have to do all of those daily quests is because it's one of the only methods of gaining positive karma. Positive karma is going to end up being one of 2 resources that is required to progress in this skill tree, the other being negative karma. Now, negative karma is a lot easier to farm, and positive karma as well is easy to farm, but annoying. Because the main method that you use to actually grind it is going to be removing weeds, which will appear in Cursed Vale and a bunch of other biomes, creating stuff and blah, blah, blah. The weeds are going to end up being something that you can just perpetually find. And as you end up wandering around pressing E on these weeds, it'll end up giving you 1 positive karma each, which goes by extremely fast when you're actually using a speed character and just running around pressing E on everything. But is it fun? No. Is it engaging? Heck no. It's boring as hell. But for negative karma, that's just going to be going to a composter and then just composting trophies from enemies will end up giving you various souls from the enemies that you can then end up converting into negative karma. There's a whole bunch of different ones. Some of them more valuable than others. I found that the where is it? There's one that's one that's from the Draconic. Yeah, this one. Don't tell the devs because this is probably a mistake, but the Draconic one seems to be the most valuable out of all of them. I assume that's just a mistake, but then there's ones like this that take your Ashen and Irradiant souls, which I accidentally crafted a couple of these, which I shouldn't have done because these are very valuable resources that you want to save for other crafting components. But anyways, as you get positive and negative karma, you can then spend it to get these items that are basically going to end up being food items that aren't as good as base food items. So you'll end up putting this into your food slot. You'll get 2% to your light value, which is not awful. As far as light value is concerned, 2% can be quite significant if you're at the end game and have a massive amount of light, but it's still not going to dominate over free range electrolyte and, you know, the usual food items that we've got. It will also end up giving us some passive abilities. So you can see right here, crit hit, it gets increased by 5% for 5 minutes. As long as another sharpshooter is in your auto use slot, it'll just consume it over and over again, blah, 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 blah. Doesn't matter. Who cares? It's not worth it. The main thing is you want to craft 50 of these before you can get to the next discipline. And then you have to craft 50 of these, but now you see it costs a significant amount more. The negative karma, you can just continually grind. The positive karma, you can also continually grind, but how you grind it is very annoying because you don't just earn it from dungeons. But anyways, I've got another video that kind of goes into all of the different buffs out of the martial arts. I do want to report that now it's on the live serve, we do have an ally, we have wings, and we have a mount. These are going to take me a very, very significant amount of time before I can actually get all of these for you guys for a video showcase. But I just wanted to mention that that's there. Again, I'll have another video that's going to deep dive into it. And then, of course, there's going to end up being the other profession, which is the mysticism one. This, I already put a couple videos up today talking about it. More specifically, there is the cash shop boxes. These are not worth it. I think that the devs made a big, big mistake with these cash shop boxes where they made them feel like they're more valuable than the items you actually get out of them, which are actually worthless, because a lot of this stuff, this mysticism profession is actually extremely free to play friendly. And the irony is that while I ended up putting a video out today where I opened $100 worth of these mystics boxes, you could spend less than a day free to play grinding this profession, like just outright grinding it straight up, and you would get more than the items that I ended up getting out of the stupid boxes. So anyways, to summarize, there's going to end up being this new resource called Trove Mana. I'm going to have a separate video come out sometime soon that's going to kind of deep dive into what Trove Mana is, because I'm getting way too many questions about what mana is, because it's called mana. Everyone immediately thinks, oh, do we have mages in the game? Is this some new type of spell being added to the game? No. Mana is quite literally just another crafting component. It's nothing special. It's just some other piece of garbage mechanic that is going to end up being added into the game. Mana maximizers will increase your total cap of mana that you can have stored at one time up to 100,000, defaults at 1,000. Now, the profession itself is going to end up being very similar to the martial arts, where you'll end up crafting these buffs that will last. These buffs last the entire day. You can convert those buffs into potions that would then end up being an additional stacking effect, depending on the ability, that ends up lasting a certain amount of hours. It's rather than the full day. But in short, where you end up getting Trovian mana is there's going to end up being these 3 different biome items that you can craft per day. And they will essentially make it so that wild Trovian mana can be attained through harvesting in that specific biome. So you can actually just find it out in the wild. You go press E on it, similar to the plants that I mentioned for the martial arts. Or you can just kill enemies. And there's new enemies in a couple of the different biomes in the game that will also end up dropping mana, and elite enemies or bosses in the environment, not in dungeons, but just ones that you find out in the wild, will actually also drop the mana maximizers. That's why, like, all of this, so much of this update here for the mysticism is completely free to play. I don't even know why these boxes are in the store. Like, I want my money back. I got ripped off because I thought I was actually getting something worthwhile, and I wasn't. So anyways, similar to the martial arts, it is a profession, which means that you have to craft 50 items in this tier to get to the next tier. And then of course it's going to get more and more expensive. Increasing your cap of mana that you can store is actually the easiest part. It's gathering the mana specifically that is going to end up being very, very time investment heavy. It's not time gated, because the funny thing is that nothing about this update is time gated, which is crazy. Obviously, there's going to end up being a lot of benefits to logging in perpetually after every day, because you'll be able to get more to your daily Trovian mana, and even at the martial arts, you'll be able to get more of those daily quests and so on and so forth, which will ultimately end up giving you more of the resources that you need. But I really, really appreciate the fact that this is kind of treated the same as a Trove event, where you can just keep grinding it as much as you want, or you could wait for the dailies. Now, so at the very least, it's going to end up being something that will give us something to do. That's basically it. It's going to be something else that I'll be able to continuously grind in my live streams and stuff like that. But overall, does this affect the game in any way, shape, or form? No, not really. It's just going to end up being more crap that you can end up grinding for the sake of it. That will end up giving you a lot more mastery, because professions themselves give you a lot of mastery as you level them up. And then of course, there's going to end up being the new mounts and allies and stuff like that. Anyways, that's my 2 cents towards it. And again, I just wanted to have this as a quick video summarizing the patch, because I'm going to have other videos that'll go into more detail as the weeks go on. Either way, smash like on your way out and buy the merch you want to support the channel. Have yourselves a wonderful day, everybody.